Hi there, I'm Zach.
And I'm Amanda.
And today we're going to show you an exterior wall installation of your GenStone from the moment you get your box to the moment you finish your project.
The first thing that we recommend doing is inventorying all your boxes and making sure that you received everything that you ordered and that nothing was missed. Another reason we recommend inventorying right away is to make sure that nothing was broken in shipment. It doesn't happen often, but if so, let us know and we'll get replacements out to you right away.
We also encourage you to let your panels acclimate for 48 hours, and in addition to that, you're going to probably hope that you get some days of consecutive temperature with that. Essentially what I've done so far is begun to dry fit the panels. The reason for that being, our panels will come with different numbers in the corner here. You see the number 1. We've got 4 different molding patterns with 2 from our inside and outside corners. That is gonna help you kind of delineate what looks good together and what doesn't look good together. For example, a 4 next to a 4, they'll be painted differently, but they'll be from the same mold. So you might want to switch it up. Put a 1 with a 3, really sit down with the project, plan it out, and decide what looks really nice.
As Zach was explaining earlier, there are 4 different molding patterns with GenStone. You'll be able to tell which mold it is by this little number here in the corner. These 2 panels are going to be the same mold. One thing I wanted to point out is you can see some of the rocks are going to be the same. However, there still is a little bit of the color variation within the panels. You'll want to put them together and see which ones you like best for your project.
On your installation guide, you will have a list of all the tools necessary for either an interior or exterior project. Really, most of the material is the same. The primary difference for an exterior project is that you're going to want to pick up some type of construction adhesive. This is Loctite PL3X Premium, tends to be what we recommend, but any polyurethane safe adhesive will do the job.
All right, so what we're doing now is first we went ahead and we measured the height of our corner and we marked it here as you can see with this line. Next, we're gonna go ahead and level based off of a chalk line. The reason you wanna do this versus just going level off the floor is even the slightest degree of variance can cause seams as you work your way up the wall. So it's really important to make sure you level with a chalk line.
For this imitation project, as you can see, we are going through the Tyvek into wood, so we are going to use decking screws. Non-corrosive decking screws are what we recommend. If you are going into something else like concrete or something like that, you'll want to pick up Tapcon or another masonry screw.
All right, next step here, we've got our big stretch caulking, which will come with your order. This is gonna go in between each panel on the shiplap portion. It just helps seal everything together to make sure water, bugs, anything can't get back behind the panels.
We're going to pause here a second to talk a little bit about the project that we are theoretically working on here. So the same methodology would be used regardless of how high up you're going. We're doing an imitation wainscot, which we typically see clients go either 3 or 4 panels high. We're going to cap it here at 4, put our finishing panels on, the ledger, and the whole time we've been doing big stretch caulk between the panels, Loctite on the back, and then screws as you can see. So as you can see in this clip, we are not butting up to existing trim or any corners. These exposed edges, you're gonna wanna paint just to avoid any yellowing long-term due to sun exposure. As I mentioned earlier, the primary difference between your interior and exterior installation is this construction adhesive, Loctite PL3X or another construction adhesive of the like. You may have seen we did not apply it to every panel over here. We did the caulking, but not necessarily the adhesive, mostly because after we finish this install, we're actually gonna take it all down and do it again with our brick faux stone. So you will see it over here though, and we wanna show you exactly how to do that. So let's get started. So this is that adhesive that we recommend on exterior panels. You'll see that I'm applying it in an S pattern. That's really so it spreads out and creates a nice tight adhering to the wall on which you are putting this panel. This stuff dries like concrete, so you do want to make sure that you loop it around, get a good layer in there, and like I said, once it dries, it's not coming off. This is almost exactly why we recommend dry fitting. So as you can see, our panels don't go the whole length that they will fit perfectly with the corner on this specific wall. So what I want to show you now is cutting out from the panels to fit this area and recreating the positive and negative shiplap. So to know how much material I'll need to fill these little gaps, I want to measure it. We're going to go right to the line there, just over. So I am at about 2 5/8 there. So what I have to do is cut out a piece from another panel to fill this, and I need to recreate that positive and negative shiplap so that things aren't offset behind there and it's all nice and flush. Okay, right now I'm gonna highlight recreating your positive and negative shiplap. You already know, because of how our panels are designed, that you're gonna need an inch of each. So an inch of positive shiplap and an inch of negative shiplap. So I've got my square here, I've got my panel that I've cut out, and I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it. First of all, I wanna measure in an inch. Obviously I'm going that far in to go ahead and create that shiplap. And I will need the negative on the left and the positive on the right. I'll show you that in just a minute here. So what I did there, I basically scored my piece just so I have a line that can guide my handsaw here, and then I'm actually gonna go in and cut it with this. All right, so as you can see, I've cut down to the shiplap there. I did mark it with a marker here, mostly just so you can see it on camera there, and I'm gonna go in and cut this way now to pull this piece off. All right, we've recreated the positive shiplap here and the negative shiplap there on the back, and it should fit pretty nicely between two panels. We've got here one of our gap filling pieces. I don't have a better term for it. So we've recreated the positive shiplap here and the negative shiplap on the back. I'm gonna take this corner off and then basically install these gap pieces first and then put those corners back on. Another quick tip here, for these smaller pieces, you really want to make sure that you caulk it super well. Just because they're not as dense, you want to make sure that they're attached as much as they would be if they were a full panel. If you'll come in with the camera here, so you'll see we've got a little bit of caulking squeaking out the side here. We're actually grabbing a wet paper towel because we can wipe that off and actually paint it later. Now I'm just using my hand. You are more than welcome to use a light rubber mallet on that, but obviously I don't have one, so I'm just using my hand to push that into place. All right, the wall is finished almost. We have one more piece of the puzzle here, and it is our ledger. So we're gonna start with our corner ledger here, just put it on, screw it in, then we're gonna run the whole ledger and meet another corner ledger outside. Reiterating the same point, the primary purpose of this caulking is to create a tight seal between the panels and the ledger. So not only do we have that caulking on the shiplap of the panels, but we're also gonna go ahead and put it on this ledger directly, again, to make it as tight as possible. Okay, so a couple things I want to point out on this ledger. You'll see that it's a little bit thicker than our panels here, so we've actually used a 2.5-inch screw rather than our standard 2-inch that we've been using the whole time up until here. You'll also see that I actually inlaid it a little bit deeper than we have over here on the shiplap. The reason for that is because the ledger we're screwing directly through the face, we actually have to go in and touch that up with our caulking and paint. Super easy to do, but I do want to leave some room to put that caulking in there.
All right, so we got our corner ledger installed on that side. This project is gonna require a corner ledger on this side as well. What we're gonna do is we're gonna mark right here where this corner ledger ends, and then we're gonna be able to measure for our ledger piece to cut it down so it'll fit perfectly in between these two. So earlier, as you saw, we cut down that ledger piece on the other side of the wall. This is the scrap from that piece, and it's actually gonna work just about perfect for this section, so we're gonna be able to reuse that cut edge.
All right, now that we have everything installed, we're gonna go back through and actually check for any give within the panels. I've actually got an example right here. You can see there's a little bit of movement in these panels. How we're gonna solve that, we're actually gonna drive a couple of screws through the faces of those panels. I usually recommend it, as you can see, some of these stones come out further than others. If you can bury your screw into what we call a shadow rock, it's just gonna make your life a lot easier when you get back to the caulking and paint to touch everything up. How much and where you put the caulking is totally up to you. I recommend taking a step back from your project, looking at it as a whole picture, and then deciding where you do need that caulking. Keep in mind as well that it does darken up a bit once it dries, so as you saw when I was using the caulking gun, just comes out a little bit lighter, but that'll dry to match. Okay, so we are back at the wall with what is essentially our touch-up kits. When you place your order here through corporate, not only will you receive these paint kits to match the color that you ordered in, but you will also get the exact color match caulk. That comes with the caulk, the syringe, the cap for the caulk, and then a thickening agent. What I'm gonna do here, we already did this one, but we're gonna put this together and then show you how to cover up things like screw heads, small gaps, things of that nature. So I'm just pouring the paint into this bowl. It makes getting it into the syringe a little bit easier, so that's what you're seeing here. I'm gonna do more than I think I need just to make sure I can get the appropriate amount. When you do get this paint into the syringe here, you wanna go up to that 30 milliliter mark, and I'll show you how to do that. And keep in mind, go slow because you don't wanna get a lot of air bubbles in there. All right, and there we have it. You also probably do want to keep a couple paper towels close by because things can get a little messy. So what I'm gonna do here is take that 30 milliliters of paint, put it directly into the caulking. This is tintable caulk. Put it in through the cap here, shake it up for about minute and a half, and then we're gonna add that thickener to it. Alright, we are good there. I'm going to wipe this top with a paper towel and then throw the cap back on and shake it, like I said, for about a minute and a half maybe. All right, so as you can see, that color has taken to the caulking quite nicely. What we're gonna do now is actually add our thickening agent, shake it again for about minute and a half, and then we're actually gonna let it sit for a half an hour to make sure that it really sets, and then we can use it on the wall. All right, thickener is in, and like I said, we're gonna shake it for another minute and a half, and then let it sit for a while. All right, we've got our 3 paint colors set to go in our caulking. Like I mentioned, we're gonna let that sit for 30 minutes. We only showed you one because it's the same process for all 3 of them. Syringe into here, thickening agent, shake it up, and you're good to go. "30 minutes has passed and we are back with our caulking. I have loaded the caulking gun with our darkest color. What we're gonna do first, as you can see in the ledger here, there's quite a few screw holes just to make sure that we've got that tight adherence to the wall. So I'm gonna go in here and cover those up. I also recommend grabbing a paper towel, usually a little bit damp. After you put the caulking on, you can kind of touch it up and give it that depth that the stone already has, and you don't just want that flat surface. You can use your finger instead of the paper towels, just a little bit messier. Something I wanted to bring your attention to real quick, this cut edge on the side here. So as you can see, that is not painted right now, and there are different colors of stone on either side. Really, it's up to you. Whichever stone you want to highlight more, you can put the caulking right in there. You can even use a paintbrush. The caulking is just how you start it, obviously, and you can cover that right up. So obviously a paper towel is not a fine-tipped instrument, but if you do want to get in there with a paintbrush, feel free. You've already got the paint kit, so you can go up for extra touch-ups with that little paintbrush.
What we recommend next is opening up the post-purchase guide that you would have received via email, downloading your use and care guide, registering for your warranty, and also if you have any undamaged and unused pieces left over from your project, you can send them back to us. Just go ahead and email returns@genstone.com and they'll help you get that set up. Thanks so much for watching today. If you have any additional or specific install questions, feel free to give us a call.
Also, if you're just getting started on your project and need questions answered, like how much GenStone I need, or even ideas on your project area, we're happy to help with that as well. We look forward to chatting with you soon.